DC Multiverse!
No, friggin' goody, it's time for another Superman video. Wait, I realized that sounded sarcastic. I promise you that wasn't sarcastic. Anyway, today we had the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse classic styled Superman. And as you can see on the side of the box it says classic, but let's just pop some air bunnies next to the word classic. The back has a completely unrelated image of Superman carrying Lois Lane through the sky, and he's like, "Yeah, look at me go, Lois." And she's like, "Whoa, don't drop me, Clark." Anyway, let's pop this guy out of the packaging, shall we? Yoink, yoink. This is the slowest yoink ever. Yoink, I said, yoink. And here's what you get. Remember when I used to say that? I said that in like every video. Upon closer inspection, the more I look at this, the more I'm not convinced this is entirely classic. I mean, it's cool looking. I just feel like classic might have been the wrong wording here. At any rate, here it is out of the package. Trading card, action figure, flight base stand, and 4 more extra hands to go along with his oh-so-gigantic fisty-punchy hands. All these hands have been reused from someplace or another. The big, huge fisty-punchy hands Superman previously had with this body, along with the flight hands. I've always liked these flight hands. These are probably my favorite McFarlane flight hands. As well as the pensive hands, the boogity-boogity gonna get you finger hands. As previously mentioned, the trading card is actually kind of unrelated to the figure, because this is clearly a classic image of Superman. I'm not saying it's old, but it's styled after a classic look for the Man of Steel. Superman is the world's greatest hero. He is a tireless champion dedicated to protecting life and battling injustice, not only in his city of Metropolis, but also all over his adoptive world and across the universe. Feel free to pause and read the rest if you'd like to, because I'm just gonna do this.
Lex Luthor has Superman trapped. He's using kryptonite to destroy his powers.
Now you'll tell me why Superman peanut butter tastes so great. Never. So fresh roasted, so creamy, so yummy. Then its secret will be mine, all mine. Yay! Foiled again! Just wait, Superman. I'll find out.
Superman peanut butter. Its strength is its great taste.
Of course we have the flight base. As time goes on, I tend to think more and more that these are fairly useless. I mean, they're okay if you put them on the stand and then just leave it there. But if you have any kind of real action with this stand, you use it more than once, right here, this little circle actually gets really, really loose, because you can see that there's no screw on the inside there that can be adjusted. It's just a flat one, which is really daft. And the inside is just plastic. So this very quickly becomes very, very loose and very worn out. And of course, here we have the figure. And okay, let's start with the things that I do like about it before I get into the nitpicking about things that I perhaps don't like about it quite so much. For one, the blue tone is fantastic. It's a nice lighter blue, and I feel like this goes along quite well with the previous Superman figure that I reviewed, the Return of Superman figure. And this here is my favorite of the inlaid Superman crests for all of McFarlane's figures. I love the look of this S. And I said that previously when I reviewed the first figure that was made on this body buck, the Lee Bermejo Superman. We have a nice red that complements that baby blue, and the yellow is also nice and bright. So the color palette for this is really fantastic. What I don't like about this figure so much is the cape. You guys might have heard me mention previously that this cape, I really don't like it. It's just so stuck and pre-posed. I know that some of you may dig it. I do not. And then to call this a classic when clearly you can see that the belt area is not classic. There's an S in the middle there. There's no belt loops. There's nothing classic about it. And the same thing with the boots. The only person that ever really drew the boots like this with the double chevron was Lee Bermejo. That was it. Other than that, it's always been one single thick chevron. Also, apparently mine has a nice cigarette burn in his uniform. He came like that. I tried to acetone it off, but it's actually in the plastic. As well as this weird lump that's on Superman's upper thigh. I feel like I got a factory second. Also, while these are good fists and the skin tone for the head, neck, and fists is fantastic, they really do have to retire these fists because they are too big. They do not match the scale of this body. But the head sculpt's alright. I always say, why don't they ever make a smiling Superman? I would have preferred that this Superman figure came with two head sculpts, one in a neutral look, and the other one with the smile. I'm glad that they've gone this way. I just wish it wasn't the only head sculpt that came with this figure. But the paint applications on mine seem to be okay, and I like the hair, and I prefer the spit curl going the way that it's going this way. It makes an S on his forehead. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's pretty good. As for comparisons, here he is and how he scales alongside some other classically painted / designed DC Multiverse characters that would have been in the Justice League with the soups of this era, and I say that loosely. This figure does have pretty good articulation, though. You got the head on a ball joint, and there's actually enough you can get him into a flight pose as far as the head's concerned. When you add in the torso articulation, then you end up with a perfect amount of articulation to get him into a good flight pose. Pop the arms forward, and there you have it. That's a classic. We've got the socket, we have the hinge that goes up into a T pose. We also have the elbows that are the double jointies. We have the rounded hinge that is inserted into the wrist via a peg. Of course, we have the torso on a ball joint. We have the waist also on another ball joint down here. We have the McFarlane style groin right down here. And it does get a fair amount of thigh cut-esque movement. You do have double jointed knees with this figure, which is very cool, as well as that rounded shaped hinge in the ankle and the toe articulation. Toe, 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 toe. So what do I think of this guy? Well, I've wanted a classic looking Superman figure to come out in the McFarlane Toys line for a long time. And I'm digging the blue, and I'm digging the red, and I'm digging the yellow. I like the smile, I like the hair, I like the skin tone, and for those reasons alone, that would be enough for me to purchase this figure. The boots and the trunks not being perfect isn't really a huge deal for me. If I wasn't someone who was able to customize, I might be a little bit annoyed, but because I am, this is what I managed to come up with for a classic Supes using this body. Not too bad. It could be better, but could be a lot worse. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this Superman figure, so hopefully you found this video to be an enjoyable, insightful, useful waste of time. If you have, you know where all the buttons are that do all the stuff, and I will see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.